Good evening, class. My name is Andrew Hopkins, and I did my book review on Generation Z Unfiltered by Tim Elmore, Facing 9 Hidden Challenges of the Most Anxious Population. So, some information about our author, Tim Elmore. He founded the organization Growing Leaders, a nonprofit organization based in Atlanta, Georgia. This organization was founded to equip educators, parents, and other adults to lead younger generations through life. Elmore has taught similar leadership principles to organizations like Home Depot, Gold Kist, and even our probably all-time favorite Chick-fil-A. He's worked with Dr. John Maxwell in the development of leaders for the past 25 years, and John Maxwell has even listed Elmore as one of the most influential leaders when it comes to the concept of leadership. So, the questions that Dr. Elmore answers in this book is, why Generation Z? Why is it that we should be so focused and tuned in to this particular generation? Dr. Elmore lists Generation Z as having 3 qualities. One, they're a generation that is unique. They're a generation that uses different methods than others to accomplish tasks, and they're a generation that will do more with the opportunities given to them than any other generation before them. Elmore, within his book, gives the example of 13-year-old Virgil Smith, who saved his family and neighbors in a flood in a low-income neighborhood. Elmore lists this 13-year-old Virgil Smith as one whose generation is unique, different in their thinking, and will do more with the opportunities given to them. So, with that being said, once we understand these particular traits that we saw on the previous slide about Gen Z, Elmore wants us to take them and understand that educators, parents, coaches, professors, and even employers need to reevaluate and change the way that they lead Gen Zs. Elmore believes that to make the impact on Gen Zs that we truly can, that we need to implement these particular traits in their lives. The first one is that educators, teachers, need to cultivate curiosity and equip students to find solutions. The second one is parents need to change the style that they parent to be more intentional with their children. The third one is coaches need to look further at the bigger picture than just winning games, but instead teach the value in life lessons. And the fourth one is professors need to emphasize the concept of customized learning. Within this book, Dr. Elmore used the acronym PARTNER to describe the different characteristics that Generation Z has. The P stands for private, the A stands for anxiousness, the R stands for restlessness, the T stands for tech savvy, the N stands for nurtured, and the E entrepreneurial, and finally the R redemptive. So this particular acronym with the P, private, Elmore uses it to describe how Gen Zs are more private in how they conduct themselves with social media and interaction with others. Gen Zs are more likely to use Snapchat, Finsta, which is a fake Instagram account that they develop, and other vanishing apps to hide content from others. The A in the acronym stands for anxiousness, to describe Gen Z's most anxious as the most anxious group of children in American history. While this particular generation finds it easier to navigate technically, they struggle to navigate in life psychologically and even emotionally. As we saw that the R stands for restlessness, this word is used to describe the lifestyle and identity that is constantly changing in this particular generation over time. Social media has played a huge part in this role for children as it has shifted their view of themselves to being compared to others. So for Instagram and Snapchat, they're constantly seeing pictures of other people or videos of different things and people, and so they're always when they're on their screen comparing themselves to these different groups of people. The T in this acronym stands for tech savvy. As Generation Z is the generation that is more at home on a screen than any of the other previous generations that we've encountered or been in. On average, Gen Zs spend at least 9 hours a day on their devices. Overusing technology can actually lead to premature thinning in their brain cortex, the part of the brain that processes thoughts and actions. The next letter in the word is nurtured. Generation Z is in the middle of a world filled with information and knows more about world events, culture, and even sex than previous generations at their age. Students knowing these things has caused parents to become more protective of their children as they do not want them to be exposed to most of these challenging topics at their age. The next letter in the acronym is the letter E, and it stands for the word entrepreneurial. Generation Z has learned from the millennials before them that going to college might not be the only choice for success. A study showed that high school students within the Generation Z gap prefer to start a business or volunteer rather than actually go to college. And the final letter within this acronym is the letter R, and it stands for redemptive. Generation Z is more inclusive and accepting of different races, sexual orientations, or gender than any U.S. generation before them. Gen Z believes that they can change the world we live in because they have grown up in a world that is already constantly changing. As we continue, we're going to take a look at how technology can affect this particular generation. So Dr. Elmore uses these examples that smart technology has caused negative effects on the brain. It's caused sleeplessness due to the glowing screen from their tablets, phones, etc. It's caused anxiety and depression. They actually have this fear of being offline. It's caused them to have poor memories, and they actually struggle with even delaying gratification. So the research that Dr. Elmore has pulled with the negative effects on the brain, he lists that technology has caused teenagers to struggle with sleeplessness as the glowing screen from their tablets, phones, and laptops kind of confuses their internal light cues to think it's daytime, so they can't go to sleep. They always think it's like daytime when they need to rest. Another common thing that is derived from technology use is anxiety and depression. The use of technology has caused teenagers to struggle more with anxiety and depression as they feel a fear of being offline. Many students grow anxious while being on their phones, but research also shows that students' anxiety level rises when they're actually not on their phone. So Dr. Elmore gives us this research that students are anxious to not be on their phone, but they're also anxious when they're on their phone. So these students even actually struggle with withdrawal symptoms from their phone, similar to drug addicts whenever their phones are taken away. Technology use among this generation has also caused students to develop poor memories as they have an unlimited amount of information right there at their fingertips on their phones. So if they forget something, they can just kind of look it up. They've never actually had to remember anything because they've always had the access to be able to Google it or ask Bing. Their actual attention span has diminished as they cannot pay attention to a person or program for longer than 12 seconds before being distracted by something more engaging in their eyes. And finally, according to Dr. Elmore within his book, that Generation Z has also become a generation that has a tough time delaying instant gratification. The need for instant gratification for Gen Z has come from how these students can react on social media and even in quitting relationships. So the purpose of Dr. Elmore's book is to inform the readers of how Generation Z is a unique generation that can change the world, to give insight in what makes up Generation Z, and to list characteristics that negatively affect this particular group of students. So it's important that Dr. Elmore has also listed reasons and the how of how we, previous generations and current generations, can actually come alongside this particular generation known as Generation Z. So Dr. Elmore gives ways that we can come alongside this particular generation and help move them in the right direction. Elmore states that we must initiate action in leading and assisting Gen Z. We cannot wait on the sideline and must initiate changes where they can need to be made. Ways that we can do this including students from Generation Z in the solution. So this particular group of generation, this particular group of students, they want to be included in the problem-solving method. They don't want to just sit on the sideline. Another reason that Elmore gives that we can include students from Generation Z is envision this generation at its best, and it'll help them see that within themselves. So if we drop the negative talk about this generation, if we drop this generation is lazy and can't do this because they're stuck on their phones, but instead if we help them see that what they can be and their potential, if we envision this generation at their best, then we're going to also help them see that within themselves. We also need to get them to see the bigger picture, and that we all need to work together so that we can obtain a future that is the best for all generations. Thank you.